That. Hmm. All right, that looks good right there. No, excuse me, sorry, I'm getting over a sickness. Okay. Most people drive a car every single day, but don't actually know what type of drivetrain the car uses. Most people know the basics of cars, but the drivetrain is one of the most biggest factors in how a vehicle actually performs on the road. My name is Angel, and through my research, I've learned how much a drivetrain affects the way a vehicle performs. Today, I will be discussing the different types of drivetrains used in modern vehicles. More specifically, I'll explain what drivetrains are, how they work. I'll discuss the pros and cons of each, and then I'll give some examples of each of the drivetrains. So first, let's understand what drivetrains are. According to Tires Plus and Automotive Service Center, in their 2021 service summary, what is the drivetrain and what does it do? Quote, a car's drivetrain includes all the components necessary to transfer the engine's energy to its wheels, unquote. In simple terms, the drivetrain is a system for responsible for getting the power from the engine to the wheels that move the car. The three main types I'll focus on today are front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, and four wheel drive or all wheel drive. In the purposes of this speech, I will be referring to four wheel drive and all wheel drive together just as four wheel drive. Each type sends power to the different wheels, and that changes how the vehicle accelerates, handles, and drives in different driving conditions. So front wheel drive is the first one. It's the most common drivetrain people use today. The engine sends power to the transmission, and the transmission sends it to axle shafts directly to the front wheels. Pretty simple. Next is rear wheel drive and four wheel drive systems. They're a little bit more complicated. Instead of sending power directly to the front wheels, the energy sense gets sent to the transmission and then to a drive shaft under the vehicle, and then finally to a differential and then to the wheels. In rear wheel drive, power only gets sent to the rear wheels, and then in four wheel drive, it gets sent to both the front and the back. Now that we know what drivetrains are, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of each type. Starting with front wheel drive, one of the biggest advantages is fuel efficiency. Since the system is simpler and lighter, the car doesn't need as much energy to move. Therefore, they're usually cheaper to manufacture and cheaper to maintain, which is why it's a common setup for daily commuters. Another major advantage in front wheel drive cars is the traction that you get in bad weather. Because the engine sits over the front wheels, there's more weight in the front of the car pushing down on the tires, which helps you grip the road a little bit better. However, there are some downsides. Since the front wheels are both doing the steering and the driving, they can become more overwhelmed under hard acceleration, which causes something called torque steer, which is what drives your wheels to the left or right by itself. Next is rear wheel drive. According to Edmunds in their article all about front, rear, forward, and all-wheel drive systems, while front-wheel drive is more efficient, rear-wheel drive provides better handling. Rear-wheel drive vehicles are known for balance and performance, since the rear wheels are responsible for moving the car and the front wheels are focused solely on steering, the workload is separated. This creates a better weight distribution between the front and the back, um, which helps rear-wheel drive cars gain better traction and launch harder, which is why you usually see them in performance-based cars. The downside to this is you typically get bad traction in bad weather because usually since there's less weight in the front, your rear-wheel drive cars are more prone to losing grip in things like snow and rain. Finally, there's four-wheel drive cars. According to Consumer Reports in their 2025 article discussing four-wheel drive systems, these drivetrains provide the best traction in rough conditions. These systems send power to all four wheels, which gives the vehicle much better grip on uneven terrain, mud, and snow, or off-road trails. This is why four-wheel drive is commonly used in trucks and off-road vehicles. One of the biggest advantages is just and confidence driving in rough conditions. Whether it's heavy rain, dirt roads, or snow, four-wheel drive systems help distribute the power much better. However, this comes with some disadvantages. Four-wheel drive systems are typically heavier because they have a lot more components in them. So that usually means they're more expensive to maintain, and they're usually worse on fuel economy. Finally, let's look at some real world examples of these drivetrains. For front wheel drive, some examples include the Honda Civic, the Toyota Camry, and the Nissan Altima. These vehicles are designed mainly for daily driving, fuel efficiency, and reliability. For rear-wheel drive, examples include the Ford Mustang, the Chevy Camaro, and the Dodge Challenger, which these are more performance-based vehicles. And lastly, for four-wheel drive, these include cars like the Jeep Wrangler, the Subaru WRX, and the Toyota Tacoma. These vehicles are designed for rough terrains and bad weather. To wrap things up, today I explained what drivetrains are, how they work, pros and cons of each, and examples for each of them. The next time you get into a car, you'll know exactly what's powering your wheels and why it matters. Yeah.